Alrighty, party peoples of the interwebs, Mark Twain wisely said, history does not repeat, but it tends to rhyme.
Things are rhyming a lot with 2016.
Viva Frei, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler in my home office, not my home vehicle office. And the news of the day is Russia has again interfered in the 2024 elections, this time by wooing right-wing commentators through a company funded by Russians who work for RT. And with those words, Russia, 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 the left rejoices in orgiastic insanity at the idea that they can once again complain in advance that Russia is interfering to lay the groundwork for that if Donald Trump wins, it's as the result of this Russian interference, and people jump on the guilty until proven innocent bandwagon. If you haven't heard what's going on, it's a little complicated. Let's go to the indictment. United States District Court, Southern District of New York, otherwise known as SDNY, otherwise known as the most corrupt district in all of America, United States of America, versus Konstantin Kalishnikov and Elena Afanasieva, defendants. And just a heads up, if it looks like I'm glistening a little bit on the forehead, it's because I just got back from my jog and I haven't stopped sweating yet. But yeah, this is a story about two alleged RT employees financing a company that is thinly veiled in this indictment. Everybody knows exactly who the players are. Some of the players who are only named as Commentator 1 and 2 have taken to Twitter to disavow what went on and make sure that it is known to the world that they had no knowledge of what was going on or what was alleged to have been going on as per the allegations in this indictment. And I'm not naming any names to disclose anything remotely confidential. It's been all over the news all day. The names of the right-wing commentators at issue: Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and the name of the right-wing commentator whose company is at issue is Lauren Chen, and her husband, and the company is Tenet Media. They did such a bad job concealing or attempting to conceal that their attempt to conceal doesn't look like an attempt at all. They did such a bad job attempting to conceal the names in this indictment. I think it's obviously clearly done to sow discord barely 60 days out of the November 2024 election. Now, we will go through some of the most relevant allegations of the indictment, at least as far as I am concerned, but the 30,000-foot overview summary of this indictment is that you have two Russian principals who are allegedly employees of RT, financing the operations of a Tennessee incorporated company, that being Tenet Media, via Lauren Chen. Lauren Chen, who wants Tenet Media to be something of a right-wing commentary empire of sorts. I might be overselling it, but a source for right-wing political commentary, goes and recruits big right-wing commentators, names like Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, and Tim Pool, and they are paid via the monies that are financed through this company by an individual who actually doesn't exist, or allegedly doesn't exist, a persona named something Gregorian, that the two RT employees are responsible for having set up, and Lauren Chen is either a part of this or woefully blind as to where the finances are coming from. That's the 30,000-foot overview. But the one key allegation, which comes right at the introduction of this indictment, is that despite this being allegedly some form of Russian involvement to interfere with the 2024 American elections, there's no uniformity of the messaging that Russia is allegedly trying to infuse into American politics. I'll read you the allegation. Introduction. RT, formerly known as Russia Today, is a state-controlled media outlet funded and directed by the government of Russia. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, RT was sanctioned, dropped by distributors, and ultimately forced to cease formal operations in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and the European Union. In response, RT created, in the words of its editor-in-chief, unquote, entire empire of covert projects, end quote, designed to shape public opinion in, quote, Western audiences, end quote. One of RT's, quote, covert projects, end quote, as described herein, is its funding and direction of a Tennessee-based online content creation company, US Company 1. Over at least the past year, RT and its employees, including Konstantin Kalishnikov, aka, quote, Kostya, end quote, and Elena Afasinyeva, aka, quote, Lena, end quote, the defendants, have deployed nearly $10 million laundered through a network of foreign shell entities to covertly fund and direct US Company 1. US Company 1 publishes English language videos on multiple social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube. Using multiple fake personas, Afasinyeva edited, posted, and directed the posting by US Company 1 of hundreds of videos. Many of the videos published by US Company 1 contain commentary on events and issues in the United States, such as immigration, inflation, and other topics related to domestic and foreign policy. While the views expressed in the videos are not uniform, the subject matter and content of the videos are often consistent with the government of Russia's interest in amplifying US domestic division in order to weaken US opposition to core government of Russia interests, such as its ongoing war in Ukraine. The ongoing war in Ukraine and the opposition to the ongoing war in Ukraine, or at least to the West financing it forever to our last tax dollar, seems to be the leitmotif of this indictment. It comes up over and over again, as if to say the main purpose of this indictment is actually to shut people up in opposing the endless financing of the war in Ukraine. But the amazing thing of this indictment is that it alleges Russia is interfering in American politics, although there is no uniformity in the messaging on this right-wing platform. That is to say, basically, that the commentators have carte blanche and intellectual freedom to commentate the way they so choose, and to me that seems like a very bad way to interfere in foreign politics. The indictment then goes on to say the big bad boogeyman words over and over again. Russia, Russia, Russia. Anybody that has anything to do with Russia in any way, shape, or form has to be a traitor to America and has to be engaged in election interference. Paragraph 27, despite describing U.S. companies 1 investor to Commentator 1 and Commentator 2 as, quote, Edward Gregorian, end quote, a purported finance professional in Western Europe, Founder 1 and Founder 2 admitted to each other in their private communications that their, quote, investors, end quote, were in truth and in fact the, quote, Russians, end quote. The same term that Founder 1 and Founder 2 previously used while working directly under contract with RT as described above. On or about May 27, 2023, Founder 1 messaged Founder 2 on Discord, quote, I'm going to ask the Russians about hiring Producer 2 this coming week, end quote. Approximately 2 days later, Founder 1 messaged Producer 2 on Discord, quote, here's a list of responsibilities I sent over to the investors to approve bringing you on, waiting to hear back on timeline, salary, end quote. On or about August 8, 2023, Persona 1 informed Founder 1 and Founder 2 in Discord that the request to hire a, quote, producer booker, end quote, was, quote, approved. Russia, Russia, Russia. Apparently Founder 1 was at one point in time working with or contracting with RT, and now they're doing business with the Russians, which means that all of this has to be totally shady business. In reality, one typically should know where their financing is coming from, and there are going to be questions as to what the investment was for. To the extent that the financiers, real or not, were investing $10 million in this Tennessee-based company, presumably they were going to want a return on their investment, so it will be key to see what the details of that arrangement were. It could very well be that Founder 1 and Founder 2 just thought they were doing business with legitimate investors. We will see. This is, after all, only an indictment from a corrupt Department of Justice 60 days out from the 2024 election, a day after it was revealed that Kathy Hochul had a Chinese spy infiltrating her government in New York. Rhyming so much with 2016, it could be accused of plagiarism, but yeah, with all that said, we should read this with the grain of salt that it deserves, and also the skeptical eye that is required when approaching things with intellectual honesty. Paragraph 31, as U.S. Company 1 prepared to launch in the fall of 2023, consisted with Persona 1's instruction to Founder 1 to work with the, quote, Russian firm we agreed to hire, end quote. Founder 1 introduced Kalishnikov to U.S. Company 1 employees and affiliates as an outside editor hired by U.S. Company 1's investor. In this role, Kalishnikov monitored U.S. Company 1's internal communications and edited content published by U.S. Company 1 without disclosing that he was an RT employee. Kalishnikov also introduced his fellow RT employee Afanasieva to provide additional day-to-day direction to U.S. Company 1 employees and commentators as set forth below. So what piques my interest here is that on the one hand, the RT employees, it's not specifying if they're operating for this company as RT employees or if they just happen to be RT employees or if they were former RT employees. It doesn't matter. They're just doing editing of the content created by the commentators from the Company 1. And so there are some questions here as to, okay, fine, they're editing videos and posting them. That does not itself amount to Russian interference in the election, but we'll see where this goes. That does not amount to Russian interference in U.S. elections, and I do have the very big question. When they refer to these two as RT employees, was that past and present? Were they working for RT in their capacity while working with Company 1, or did they just happen to be RT employees but potentially venturing out on their own? We will see. Paragraph 36. First, Afanasieva demanded that Founder 1 press U.S. Companies 1 hired commentators to share U.S. Company 1 content with the commentators' pre-existing audiences, thus magnifying the impact of RT's messaging through U.S. Company 1. For example, and then we'll skip to paragraph C, the next day on or about March 23, 2024, Afanasieva, as, quote, Helena Shudra, end quote, privately messaged Founder 1 on Discord asking that, quote, one of our creators record something about the Moscow terror attack, end quote. Despite public reporting that the foreign terrorist organization ISIS had claimed responsibility for the attack, Afanasieva requested that U.S. Company 1 blame Ukraine and the United States, writing, quote, I think we can focus on the Ukraine-U.S. angle. The mainstream media spread fake news that ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack, yet ISIS itself never made such statements. All terrorists are now detained while they were heading to the border with Ukraine, which makes it even more suspicious why they would want to go to Ukraine to hide, end quote. Founder 1 responded that Founder 1 would ask Commentator 3 and the next day confirmed that Commentator 3 said, quote, he's happy to cover it, end quote. Anything that contradicts the West's narrative of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is suspect. And if you read this indictment, it reads more like an argument brief than an indictment. It reads more like an essay on geopolitics than an indictment. Oh my goodness, someone asked that they cover an angle to a story that the mainstream media was already covering for those who weren't paying attention. From PBS News, Russia continues to link terrorist attack to Ukraine despite conflicting US intelligence. From the article Efim Fidreya through Interpreter, considering that their behavior is different from typical radical Islamists, they did not try to commit suicide, they did not take hostages, and went towards the Ukraine border. It is possible that the official version will actually be correct. That is PBS News reporting on the same angle, albeit critically, but nonetheless reporting on the possibility that these terrorists were in fact heading to the border of Ukraine, and yet somehow that makes its way into the indictment by way of argument to show that these commentators were serving Russian interests. And the indictment ends with count 1, conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agent Registrations Act, and count 2, conspiracy to commit money laundering. Now, Dave Rubin and Tim Pool came out and said they were victims of the deception as well. They had no knowledge of anything that was going on, to the extent that anything was going on. If they were getting paid to provide commentary, nothing in their commentary was influenced by Russian interests, and they were just commentating honestly and intellectually as they have done and will continue to do. And when you look at this, there are various levels to it. You have the RT individuals who seem to have been financing Tenet Media, or the company in Tennessee, to the tune of $10 million. The vast majority of that money was going to these commentators who, in as much as they could, did something of a due diligence. They asked to know who was financing Tenet Media, and they got a profile which happened to be allegedly a profile of a non-existent person. So there are levels to this. The commentators who got paid for their commentary are probably at the lowest end of it. The two defendants, the RT employees or the alleged RT employees, are at the upper end. And then somewhere in the middle, you got Tenet Media and Lauren Chen and her husband as to what they knew, what due diligence they did when they were taking millions of dollars to finance this company, if they thought it was legit bona fide business, if they thought they were creating an empire, or if they knew they were laundering Russian money for Russian disinformation to interfere with the American election. Now, full disclosure, I happen to know everybody in this story and don't think ill of any of them. I think they're all good people. So until proof to the contrary, I will most certainly give them the benefit of the doubt, but most importantly, treat them as innocent until proven guilty, or in fact innocent until even charged. Now, if only the internet could be so gracious and lawful. From Jamie Mitchell, @the Lauren Chen hasn't posted since her company was outed as a literal arm of the Russian government. I think I speak for everyone on the right when I say we want answers and the truth. It is truly shameful what she did, as she has now confirmed all the, quote, Russia, end quote, conspiracy theories true. The left is having a field day over it. Sets the whole movement back. She is a traitor to this nation and should be wholly rejected by conservatives and right-wing media. To which I had to reply, quote, we want answers, end quote, and quote, she is a traitor to this nation, end quote, are mutually incompatible statements. The latter is a conclusion of fact and law that betrays the former, especially since Lauren hasn't even been charged with anything. It's astonishing how quickly people forget about the principle of, quote, innocent until proven guilty. Equally astonishing how quickly people forget how grotesquely corrupt and weaponized the DOJ is, such that there might actually be a little more to this story than the allegations of an indictment, which at this stage are just that, allegations. Equally astonishing how some have forgotten about the initial Russiagate hoax and how this rhymes quite a bit. Chill out and don't pull a Nancy Pelosi, respectfully submitted. And for his part, Tim Pool tweeted out that he's apparently going to sit down for a meeting with the FBI, to which I had to remind him of Michael Flynn. Tim Pool, I have been contacted by the FBI as a potential victim of a crime. The FBI believes I have information relevant to an ongoing criminal investigation and have requested a voluntary interview. I will be offering my assistance in this matter. To which I had to reply, Michael Flynn would like to have a word with you, ... So that's it. We are living in the world where a thoroughly corrupt and weaponized and politicized DOJ, 60 days out of an election, has now come up with another indictment a la Russiagate hoax 2016, accusing right-wing commentators of being stooges of the Russian government, even though that Russian government had no uniform messaging in the infiltration that they were perpetrating while perpetrating. None of it makes any sense except for the fact that this is Russiagate 2016 3.0. I don't even know what iteration we're up. It is Russiagate yet again, and people need to take a step back back, chill out. We are not Nancy Pelosi. She'll be able to prove her innocence at trial. We are people of law and order, and we are mildly skeptical of an institution that has been weaponized over the course of a decade to prosecute maliciously ideological and political adversaries 2 months out of an election. So we will see where this goes. If you like what I do, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure the notifications are turned on. Drop a comment in the comment section because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, Viva Frei for some incredible merch. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com for the most above average community out there. Most importantly, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, vitamin D, talk to people in real life. But Tim Pool, I would not sit down with the FBI. And now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!
I'm sorry. You want rights now. You want freedoms right now. Is it time? Is it freedom o'clock? Guess what?
What?
Where you guys are going, they have never even heard of rights.